now joining the meeting.
This meeting is being recorded and/or transcribed.
Okay, and I'm recording, so we're good to go.
Welcome to the, is that too much feedback?
I don't know why that happened.
Welcome to the Courthouse Historic Preservation Commission meeting for, okay?
If you're joining us remotely,
For the month of November, okay. And so remotely, we can see Donna and
Hey guys, if you've joined remotely, can you mute your mics? I'm gonna
Can y'all see or hear me, Amanda?
yes.
And Donna, we can see you, even though you're saying you can't see us.
Be a problem and everything what's going on the COA.
You should be able to access the file at the link I emailed you guys if you want to look on. It's just 2 pages of plans, and I can resend it if you'd like. Do you have your computer? Are you on your computer? Okay, I'll resend you the link so you can view the plans with everyone else.
Okay.
Does that work? I'm not sure why you're not seeing us, though.
You've been muted. To unmute yourself, press *6.
Okay, we can go ahead and get started, and I'm going to send her that link.
Okay. Welcome to the Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Today we have in person Griffin, Dorothy, Lee, and Stuart. And we have Amanda and Donna by Zoom. And who else do we have on Zoom with us? What are the other two people?
One of them is the conference line, and the other is our applicant. One of them is the conference line, and the other is the applicant.
Okay, so we do have the applicant for our only COA for tonight on by Zoom, so we'll get to that in a minute. Let's turn our attention first to the agenda for tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Do we want to modify it to discuss? Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to modify it to add at the end of the agenda discussion.
Stuart has made a motion that we add to the end of the agenda a discussion of
on how to handle a demolition that has been approved, that a proposal for what's going back in lags as it has on 208, but not to pick up 208, just a general discussion. So
A timeline.
a timeline on what is going to be replacing a demolition.
Okay, Stuart's made a motion to discuss demolitions in general, with 208 just being an example. Do I hear a second to that addition? Lee makes a second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes, so we will have one more item at the end of the agenda. And it says number 3 would be to elect a new chair and vice chair. Thank y'all very little for stepping up to be the new chair.
I would like to elect Dorothy as our new chair.
Okay, we have a motion to elect me as your new chair and a second from Stuart. All in favor?
Aye.
And vice chair, Andy said he would be willing to do it again.
So does
So I'll
some,
motion to vote Andy as our vice chair as well.
Griffin moves to have Andy as the vice chair, and Lee seconds that. All in favor? Aye. Okay, and we will move on to our minutes from the September meeting. We did not have an October meeting because we didn't have any COAs. And does anybody have any changes that you need to make to the September minutes? Hearing none.
A motion we approve.
Stewart motions we approve.
Second.
Griffin seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the minutes are approved. Then we do have on here some administrative approvals, and these are just for your information. We do not need to vote on them. Staff has taken care of these. 3 were signs and 1 was a fence, and so they were easy for them to do in with their own guidelines. So if you need to read those, they are in our packet. They were in your email.
You're not by chance using Microsoft Teams, are you, on your iPad?
I have Microsoft Teams.
but it's not,
Okay.
you're not on the meeting.
I'm not on it.
You don't, it's not on your computer.
Muted.
It's not even really downloaded on my.
Yeah, I'm on Teams, but everything's muted.
I'm gonna
Wonder if I
turn
should-
my iPad off.
I mean, it's a speaker kicking off a microphone somewhere else. So
Did that fix
does
it?
that camera have a
I
microphone?
turned my iPad off. Did that fix
And
it?
I got mine further away.
Okay.
Can you hear us, Amanda? No.
No, it's just faint. I can't even hear words.
We will try and speak up.
Just that minute. Oh, Amanda, should I exit? Should I get out and try to rejoin and see if that helps?
It sounds a little bit better now. Can you hear me now?
Sort of.
Kind of. Donna, can you hear us?
Barely. I can hear
I went back in, but didn't do any good. I can't see anybody.
Okay, I think what we'll do is just proceed. If you have any questions,
I'm gonna leave and come back.
okay.
I did that and it didn't do any good.
I mean, we can hear them fine. I think it's our
Yeah.
microphone.
We could put them on speakerphone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this isn't a usual thing when y'all.
Every time we do a problem.
It's a new challenge for 2020.
It's just Monday.
Okay. Can you hear me, Amanda?
Hello, this is Steve Bryan. Am I connected to the meeting?
Hi, Steve, you're connected. We're just having some technical issues with the commissioners who've joined via video. If you could just hang on for a second. What was that, Amanda?
If you can't hear Donna, you might want to exit and then rejoin.
I did that. I can see you now and I can hear better.
Okay. It sounds like we're in business.
Oh, it sounds much better.
Yep. Okay, Steve, are you still there? Steve, Brian, are you still there? Hello, Steve. Are you still on the line? We're about to start your case.
Is anybody talking?
I can't hear anybody talking either, Amanda.
Steve, can you hear my voice on the recording?
They can't hear us either.
Huh.
This is like a Saturday Night Live skit of Zoom.
Okay. Should we, I mean, technically we have a quorum. But we need Steve.
Can we put him
Donna,
on
we
speaker?
can just have some wine and watch.
If I know we were gonna be talking about 208, I would get myself up there.
100%. My whole family has COVID but me, so
I did not know that. I am so sorry.
I'd rather have it than just be stuck
So
here.
they can hear each other.
So are you
Shouldn't be. Well, I guess.
sheltering in place?
So are we somehow we're somehow muted to them? Yeah. Is there not a?
Hey, is that microphone that's muted up in the top right have anything to do with us? Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Well, this is
Can y'all hear us now?
a little bit.
That work?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you shortly, yeah.
Okay.
Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, I do hear you.
Oh,
Okay, we're gonna start your case now.
okay.
Sorry, Donna and I are having
Okay.
Good news. All right, we will look at COA number 348. Steve is representing Larry Overstreet's property. You've got this in your packet. Kate, you start by giving us your comments about this case.
Sure, so this is a request to install a rear, it's like a shed roof overhang with a deck and stair behind 3 buildings on South Lamar that are listed as non-contributing. I included photos in the staff report that I'm sure you guys saw. And the materials meet the material requirements of the Oxford Design Guidelines. The proposed decking isn't going to be obscuring any original material because all of the buildings have been added onto at the rear. And it won't really be highly visible from anywhere except the Harrison. So staff recommended approval of the COA as proposed.
Thank you, Kate. Commissioners, do we have any questions of Kate? Steve, is there anything you would like to say to us about the proposal? Steve, can you hear me?
Hey, this is Steve Bryan. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, it goes in and out, and occasionally I hear a little bit.
I think the issue is that the microphones on the board, we can hear Kate when she talks, but we can't hear Dorothy or anybody up
I
there.
gotta yell in this thing.
Okay, Steve, they were just asking if you have anything you'd like to say about the application. I just presented the staff report and we're recommending approval. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Just think that it would be an improvement to the immediate neighborhood, and if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Steve. Does anybody have any questions? We have no questions.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll
We have a
second.
motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. Steve, did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I'm glad to say I heard that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Bye.
So I'm going to assume that Amanda and Donna were in favor of the motion. Is that correct?
I didn't hear any of it.
Okay. We're going to count you as abstaining, Donna.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks to me like I'm in as a guest, so I can participate. Is there any way I can get in not as a guest?
She's saying that she's showing as a guest, and would it change? Amanda's not showing as a guest, the rest are not showing as a guest. Does it matter?
Hey, Donna, that wouldn't change anything about how you're hearing or seeing the meeting.
Okay.
So at this point, do we want to?
Move on to.
We'll move on to our added agenda item, which is to discuss a demolition. And the reason we're talking about this tonight is that probably
I
all
hate
of
to
us.
interrupt, but the issue is that we can't hear what the people on the board are saying, but we can hear Kate.
And it says that chat channel is only available to team members, and I'm not a team member, I'm a guest.
Okay, we're now going to discuss the added item to the agenda, which is to talk about what we can do in the case of a demolition to hopefully avoid what is happening now with 208, which is just an empty lot in a very visible part of our historic downtown. And 208 would just be an example, so we can start with that. And Stuart brought this up when he came. Can you hear Stuart, or can you only hear this microphone?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear Stuart.
So, Dorothy, when you talk right here, the mic's
I
gonna
can
pick
hear
it up.
Stuart.
If you talk right here, the mic's gonna pick it up. So let your lips touch it through the mask. I mean, that's basically.
That sounds so COVID unsafe.
Yeah.
But it's the reality.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. We will yell into the microphone. So our situation is that on February 28, we passed the ability for them to be able to demolish 208 on an emergency basis. They did not have to put any money into a landscape plan as one would under normal demolition circumstances. Therefore, we don't have a lot that we can ask them to do. I had already talked to Kate and Ben about this, about possibility of beautifying that site somehow, or making it look a little less depressing if this is going to go on for longer. And I know that all the commissioners are anxious about it and saying, do we have 208 tonight? Do we have 208? And we don't have any plans yet from 208. So they would just be an example of, do we need to look into a policy about demolition, about how long somebody has before they have to start building, or do they have to landscape instead if they're not ready to build? Anybody comment, please?
I'm definitely on board with moving forward with some sort of plan to designate a time frame for after a demolition, have something going on. Either a proposed plan or some sort of landscaping.
And just so I'm clear, we normally would not approve a demolition without seeing the plans for what is being proposed to go back in. In that case, it was deemed a safety risk, and that's why we did. So we're only talking about the rare occurrence where we feel compelled to approve a demolition without seeing what's going back in. In the case where we are seeing what's going back in, we can say demolition is not to begin until, well, even that necessarily doesn't even have teeth. They can tear it down, and then all of a sudden, they say,
we're not going to build it.
Yeah, financial considerations, we can't build it. So I'm asking the question, I don't have an answer to it at this point.
So, can you hear me, Donna and Amanda? Thank you. So, Stuart, I mean, you're right to point out that this was a different process because of, the emergency nature of the circumstances here. Ordinarily, we would have a design of what's going to go back. I mean, this is fairly rare for the Courthouse Square to have a building, have a request for demolition. I think we've had 2 this year, but in those instances that we do have a request, ordinarily we would have a plan for what's going to go back, or a landscaping plan that's going to go along with it. That's also the same for outside of the Courthouse Square district. I think in this situation, it was unique, to say the least. we share the same concern that the commission has over, wanting to have something put back, wanting to not have that site in a state of, in its current state. I think we're fairly limited at this point, but it's our understanding every time we check in with the landowner, they're continuing to work on the design. So we keep reaching out to them on a about every probably 3 weeks, we're reaching out to them to see what the status is. The last time that we reached out to them, they were in the process of taking into consideration all the comments that they heard as it pertains to the complimentary review and incorporating that into either a completely different design or modifying the existing design. We don't know where they're at with that. You made a very important point about demolition, because we've experienced this one time that I'm aware of where we had plans that were provided to us as part of a demolition request, and those plans were never executed. So you still run a risk of even having plans that whatever is approved is not constructed as part of a demolition. I mean, that's a real risk. And I think we had an instance where somebody proposed to tear down a building, and they had plans provided by I don't know, it's just one of those house plans that you can buy offline from Southern Living Homes or whatever, and the commission reviewed it, it was approved, and they tore down the building, and then they sold the lot.
So I guess my question is really not about 208, but in the future, can this commission on important sites, and I know they're all important, but one on the square, on South Lamar is very important. Can this commission require some sort of a bond to be put up for a minimum amount of landscaping? The bond is to be active 6 months from the time the COA is approved. I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of throwing ideas out that would be, like a site restoration bond, but not, it doesn't need to be as big, just something to, make it look a little better than a big hole.
Ben, is that a possibility that we could have a landscaping plan just like a normal situation for demolition when it's not an emergency?
I think so, Dorothy. I think that's I think that's certainly something that we can require. I think the ordinance allows for that to be an option for people, and maybe we need to better define for the Courthouse Square District what the demolition requirements are. So that means we could have some additional requirements associated with it, and it's something that we probably ought to work together to come up with, and it's something that we as staff can work on maybe a couple different options that may be available, and quite honestly, I mean, this is how a lot of our policies come to be, is because of going through these experiences and trying to fix the, I wouldn't say loopholes, but just trying to the holes that are in the dam, on some of these things.
Right. And so we'll wait to hear from you about adding something to our emergency demolition on the square. And I would like to say this is specific to 208. I think that it would look a little bit less like a construction zone if the brown box around the parking places and the orange cones were taken down. I mean, it seems to me that even when they start building, they won't have to have the sidewalk in the street right away. Could we take care of that now?
I don't know, because I think there's a safety risk. There's a pretty severe drop-off right on the edge of that sidewalk. It just drops down about 15.
Isn't there a fence? I walked through it the other day to make sure that there was a chain link fence keeping people from falling in, and it looks like there is, but...
There is a fence there. Yes, there is a fence there.
Okay, if that's good enough, then
I don't know that it is good enough. It's something I'll get with the building official and see. But I think as part of that initial site work, the intent was for them to remove that sidewalk and they're fixing the elevation change that's there so that there's no longer going to be a staircase, and that grade will slope all the way down, so it's just a gradual slope that connects over to the street and then to the next sidewalk. So that was the intent back when this demolition took place, but here we are. So
yeah, just anything that we could do to make it look a little bit less of an eyesore. There might be something we can do inside the little, just a little less construction-y.
And in general, beyond 208, it's not just for emergencies. I think for any demolitions, even when we see what's being proposed, the attempt, I mean, it's not to be punitive if something happens and they're not able to move forward with the construction, but it's just to come up with something that would, allow it to be beautified or stabilized, or, and in 208, where it's connected to the building next door, it may have been more than just landscaping. It may have been, facing the backside of Square Books. I mean, I think we should consider, I mean, I don't know if a restoration bond is the right way to go, but something that...
Even just screening it.
Yeah.
Green screening it, 2-story green screen.
well, I have a few ideas that we can work on fleshing out the details that we can bring before y'all for at least discussion point, and before we take it to the next step of ordinance review committee, and then for y'all for action, and then to the mayor and board of aldermen for consideration. But I have a few ideas that we can work on over the next few weeks.
Yeah, those are great suggestions. I think that specifically here, we're probably dealing with COVID issues, and that's why this isn't moving forward. But at least it did bring up what we can do about this in the future.
Very good.
The silver lining of COVID.
There's many silver linings.
So true. Anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
Thank y'all.
That was a cluster. This meeting is no longer recorded or transcribed.
You are no longer muted.
Sorry.
So it's usually not echoey like that, nothing?
No, we've never had that happen.
Wow.
When I listen to the alderman meetings in the beginning, I wonder if it's something with the beginning, because it echoes a lot in the beginning, and then it'll just kind of chill out.
Yeah, I don't know. I kept telling Donna to mute, and she finally was like,